Okay, today we're in the book of Ecclesiastes, and we're starting really down in chapter 2. That's where we're going to be starting. We'll just make a brief comment, and chapter 1 has been spent by Solomon telling us about his approach to the book, that here is how I'm going to approach this. And so he explains that he is doing these things so that the Son of Man, so that human beings would know what to do while they were sojourning upon this earth. What really is a good thing to do. Now, the unusual thing about this, that is the book of Ecclesiastes, is that it approaches the subject acting as though there is no God. So as we're studying this, let's take the approach and let's look at it, and let's just assume that there is no God. Now, Solomon is going to tell us very, very plainly, there is a God, and we must bring him into this equation in order to find happiness. But he's getting ready to tell us this. So just suppose that somebody came to you and me tomorrow, and they said, I'm an atheist. I don't believe there is a God. But I would like to get advice from you guys. Could you please tell me what you think would be the best thing for me to do upon this earth to find happiness? What would you suggest I do? I know you guys are Christians, but I'm not, so don't mention God. Tell me, how do you think I can find happiness upon this earth? That really is what the whole thing is about. And he is going to approach it in that way. And he says, now I have tried everything. Said, since I have gleaned this great amount of wisdom, God has given it to him miraculously. I have this great wisdom. I have this great knowledge. I have all the wealth that there is in the world. I have everything that a man could possibly ask for. I'm going to make an experiment. I'm going to see how a human being should live in order to be happy on this earth. That really is his approach to this thing. Now keep in mind that as he starts out here, he actually tells us, and starting in chapter 1, verse 12, down through these next few verses, this approach that he's taking. And that is that he starts out by telling, after I have done all these things, I have found out that vanity of vanity and all is vanity. I found out that if you approach life without God, regardless of what you do, it's going to end up vain. That means for no purpose. You're going to end up not being fulfilled. You're not going to find happiness if that is how you approach this. He said it is like a striving after wind. It might be that if there's a strong wind out there today, and so all of a sudden, you and I got the idea if we could catch some of that wind and save it maybe till next summer when it's really, really hot, then we could uncork that bottle and let that wind blow on us. Wouldn't that be great? So let's go catch us several bottles of wind so we can use it next summer for comfort. Well, what happens? We're out here running around in the parking lot, taking the corks off of the bottles, sticking it up in the wind blowing in. We screw the cap on it. We got us a bottle of wind. Then next summer we unscrew it, hold it up so it blows in my face. What have we got? He said, that is what you find in life if you approach it without God. So last week, he showed us here in verse 16 that he said, I've got me great wisdom above all that's in Jerusalem. And he said, I've had great experience in wisdom and knowledge. I've had lots of experiences in life. And then verse 17, and I applied my heart to know wisdom and to know madness and folly, that is fun, partying, and I perceived that this also was a striving after wind. For in much wisdom is much grief, and he that increaseth knowledge increaseth sorrow. So here he explains the first two things that we think would bring us happiness. We human beings on this earth seem one after the other to think there are certain things that's going to bring us happiness. And two of these things is wisdom and knowledge. So if we just glean this, how wonderful it would be, you see, to have it. He said, no, that's not true. He said, even if you get wisdom, the more wisdom you get, the more knowledge you get, then the more problems you're able to see. So think about it this way. You take Scott's little boy. Here it is, he's toddling along, a year old, thinks he knows the world, just happy as he can be. And so he goes on doing what is making him happy. And now then, you know that next year he's going to be wiser and he's going to run into a whole lot more trouble. Right? And you know that as he goes through life, this 100% total happiness that he has now is going to turn into a whole lot of sadness. He's going to have sad problems. You're able to understand that. Why? Because you have more knowledge and more wisdom than Gus has. Well, that's true of adults. As we go through life, we can get geared in on a certain thing that if I just had this, then I could be happy. That's what Solomon is dealing with. He said, now the first thing that I want you to understand, wisdom and knowledge will not bring it to you. Because what happens when you get that, the end result is you're able to see more problems. And then he would say, wow, here it is, I didn't realize that this was out there. So he takes these two things. Now then, in chapter 2, he's going to proceed on with some other stuff that sounds like it would really bring us happiness. He said, I said in my heart, come now, I will prove thee with myrrh, or that's happiness, party time. Therefore enjoy pleasure, and behold, this also was vanity. So you would think that if you could have pleasure to the nth degree, pleasure every day of your life, just total pleasure, that would bring you happiness. But he said, this also is vanity. Now, as you go through life, you can experience this. You can say, here's what I'm going to do. I've always wanted to go on a long vacation. So I'm going to take a long vacation. I remember one time when Linda invited a bunch of us to go down to Mexico. She had some condos down there. And so Rod met me out here in the hallway. I had no idea that they were even talking about Mexico. He said, Lowell, would you and Helen like to go to Mexico with us? I said, sure. I just kind of teased it. He said, well, Linda's invited us down. We can go down in her condo. And so we'll go down to Cabo, and if you guys want to go. And well, why not? Yeah, we'll go. I made the decision right out there. And he said, okay, said, how long do you want to go? Since she has plenty of time, do you want to go 1 week or 2 weeks? And I thought, I've been places 1 week, and that didn't quite fulfill me. Let's go 2. So we went for 2 weeks. And on the 10th day, I'll never forget it, 10th day, Helen and I were sitting around talking. I'm tired of this. I'm tired of this luxury that we're in. And sitting here, and what can we do? Well, there's a big swimming pool, there's the ocean, there's all kind of beautiful trees, there's downtown, there's luxurious hotel. There's just nothing to do. And so we sat there and we talked and said, well, the next time, let's make sure we don't go for 2 weeks. Said 10 days would be a good period of time. Well, I just bring that up just as a small little thing. Yours may be, you might say, man, I could take 30 days of it. Well, that's fine. You might take 30 days. But here's the whole point that I'm getting at. That when you're living that kind of life, there is no fulfillment in what you're doing. Inside, you know you are accomplishing nothing except just rubbing some salve on you. And there's no happiness in that. And you look at the rich people, fly around the world, do everything they want to do, and you'll find that that's where their unhappiness comes in. And you look at these people, you shake your head, and you say, my, it seems to me like they'd be happy, and here it is, they sign a contract to play ball for $50 million or something, and yet destroy themselves with drugs, and they do this. I wonder why. Why do they do that? That's really stupid. Well, they're trying to find happiness. That's all it is. And you say, well, couldn't they be happy with? Well, no. You see, the point is, they're trying to find pleasure without God. And that can't be done, because all that does is just cause you to feel unfulfilled. So here's what he said. I said of laughter, it is mad, and of myrrh, what doeth it? I search my heart, how to cheer my flesh with wine, my heart yet guiding me with wisdom, and how to hold on to folly. So I said, I decided to try alcohol. So I tried wine. Now he said, I didn't get stinking drunk. I didn't abuse it. He said, I used this wine with wisdom to see what it could do to me. And he said, it turned out to be folly. He said, I did this till I could see what it was good for the sons of men that they should do under heaven all the days of their life. So he's trying to find that secret. Now, I want you to look at the riches that he had. Here now he's going to talk about all the riches and pleasure and see what he had. He said, I made me great works. I builded me houses, not just one, but houses. I planted me vineyards. I made me gardens and parks and planted trees in them of all kinds of fruit. I made me pools of water, not just swimming pool, but I made me all kinds of pools of water, to water therefrom the forest where trees were reared. I bought men servants and maid servants, and had servants born in my house. Also I had great possessions of herds and flocks, above all that were before me in Jerusalem. I gathered me also silver and gold, and the treasure of the king and of the province. I got me men servants and women singers, and the delights of some of the men. I've got tape over my Bible right here. Musical instruments, and that of all fits there that I have. He said, so I was great and increased more than all that were before me in Jerusalem. So here's a guy who didn't go to concerts. He brought all the concerts into himself. He didn't go see a movie or a play. He brought all of them in to perform before him. He didn't go to Mexico to see some beautiful things. He bought it. He owned it. He did all of these things to make him happy. And he said, and my wisdom also remained with me. Now all this time I didn't turn into a fool. I did it in a very wise way. And whatsoever mine eyes desire, I kept not from them. I held not in my heart any joy. Now think about that. Here's a man that could have anything he wanted. He said, I did not withhold anything. Anything you could think of that might bring pleasure to man, I tried it. And I did it with wisdom. So he clears that up for us, because most of us would think, well, if I had that kind of money, I would certainly use it wisely, and I could find happiness with that. No, that's what he says. He said, I've tried everything. I have had pleasures no man could even comprehend. Nobody's ever had it before me. Nobody will ever have it after me, and I did it all with wisdom. It was not foolishness. And yet he said, and I withheld my heart from any joy, for my heart rejoiced because of all my labor, and this was my portion from all my labor. Now I want you to note there's a little thing in there that's kind of interesting. I've been painting a rather bleak picture as we start out here, and I say it's all vanity, that you're not going to find happiness. Now he said, when I did this, I want you to notice, he said, for my heart rejoiced because of all my labor, and this was my portion of all my labor. So did Solomon have any fun? You bet he did. Did Solomon enjoy this? You bet he did. He said, my heart rejoiced. My heart rejoiced from all of this. Now, how are we going to harmonize that? Because he tells us, I've tried it all, and I want to guarantee you to start with, it's all vanity. There's nothing that will work. Then he turns around and he said, here it is, I tried this, and my heart rejoiced. Well, this is the way it works. And that is that you do this, you say, oh boy, yep, here's what I'm going to do, and it'll bring me happiness. So you do it, you're going to have fun. Your heart is going to rejoice. But it's the end result. You're going to see in the end of this, there's no happiness. It's just like our vacation down at Cabo. When we went down there and we got off that bus and went in that luxurious hotel, wow, isn't this something? I look out there at the trees and all of the fruit, and wow! If you'd have come up then, tapped me on the shoulder and said, Lowell, you're not happy, I'd have slapped you. Why, I'm just thrilled to death. This is great. Boy, I'd like to live like this for the rest of my life. This is wonderful. That's how I felt. And that's how you feel anytime that you enter into these things. But it's the end result. It was the 10 days later. Oh boy, what are we going to do? And I really would have felt like a man put in prison if somebody had come along and said, now, you're never going to be able to get on that plane and go back again. You're restricted here to all this luxury. You've got to stay right here. I think I'd have died. It'd been just like throwing me in prison. The end result is vanity, see? So, yeah, it's enjoyable for a period of time, then it turns to all of this. Then he says in verse 11, then I looked on all the works of my hands I had wrought, and on the labor that I had labored to do, and behold, all was vanity, and a striving after the wind, and there was no profit under the sun. So I said, when I tried everything that a human being could try to find happiness, I looked and, yeah, I had times of rejoicing. It was fun building the thing. How many of you have ever started on a project, maybe of a house, or it doesn't make any difference what it is, just some project, and you're just as happy and contented as you can be. And this is really, really fun, right, that you're going to do. And it is. And you really enjoy it. But what happens after you get it finished? Well, you go in, you sit down. Isn't this beautiful? Isn't this wonderful? Isn't this? And so everything is just wonderful. And that lasts for how long? Oh, some of us 3 days. Some of us might be 3 years. Who knows? But it's not long until she's going to look up at you guys and say, honey, could you knock out that wall and put in a window? She's dissatisfied. Let's change things. Let's do this. Let's move into a new house. This is kind of cramped. And so you're not going to stay there the rest of your life. And every day, now keep in mind, every day you get up in that new house, every day from here on, the rest of your life, when you get to be 70, you're going to get up and say, isn't this a beautiful house? Oh, isn't this wonderful? No, it's going to wear off. This is Solomon's point, that on this earth, in physical things, there's nothing that can be accomplished that will tell you how you should live and find that happiness and that contentment on this life. It's kind of interesting. This morning, I turned on the news and with all these demonstrators, and so here came this young gal, nice-looking young woman, probably is in her early 20s, and so she was explaining why they were out there demonstrating. And she said, I'm very motivated, and I've worked hard. Now, here it is. She's in her early 20s, and so you look at it, and boy, yeah, you've really worked hard, on here. But I've worked hard, and yet I can't find a good job to make money, lots of money, so I can find that happiness that we want. That's the way she put it. And so you think, ooh, let's see, let's break this down and analyze this. I can't find that good job to make lots of money so I can find happiness that I want. So she's out there demonstrating. And that's what you find with all of these young people. That's what they're after. They're after happiness. And they're out there saying, we're not happy. And you might ask why, and they might give you different answers, but we're not happy. We want money. That's what it's all about. And they'll tell you that. So we can find happiness. Well, this is what he's saying here. It's not going to happen. Look now at the end result of you if you got all these things. And I turn myself to behold wisdom and madness and folly. For what can a man do that cometh after the king? Even that which hath been done long ago. So nothing you can do to outdo him. Now in verse 13, mark that verse. Underline that verse. This is a key verse. Remember about wisdom? Will wisdom bring you happiness? No. No, the end result of wisdom will bring you grief. He said, then I saw that wisdom excelleth folly or foolishness as far as light excelleth darkness. So he said, now here's one thing I learned. Wisdom will not bring you happiness. Well, I thought the first 9 chapters of Proverbs was all about wisdom. Isn't that what Solomon wrote about in the first 9 chapters of Proverbs? The whole thing was wisdom, wisdom, wisdom. What was the key? Now we're starting to put it together. Remember, it's 2 different kinds of wisdoms that we're talking about. And that is that in the book of Proverbs, in the very first chapter, in the very first verse on wisdom, he said, the beginning of wisdom is the fear of Jehovah. The first step in wisdom that will bring you happiness is bringing God into the picture and fearing Jehovah and doing what Jehovah would have you to do. Now, here in the book of Ecclesiastes, he's talking about wisdom without that fear of God. But now he said, when you look at it, I've shown you that wisdom will not bring you happiness, so if it doesn't bring you happiness, then you just as well be a fool. Go ahead and be a fool, because it takes a lot of work to get wisdom and knowledge. He said, no, he said, this is another thing I learned in this. Now, wisdom will not bring you happiness. But wisdom is so much better than foolishness that it's like comparing light to darkness. So wisdom will not bring you happiness, but you think what foolishness will do to you. Now you got 2 choices as you go through life. You can either say, I'm going to glean me knowledge and wisdom. Now, we're just assuming that there is no God right now. I'm going to glean me knowledge and wisdom, or I'm just going to live a foolish life. So which one will bring me happiness? Neither one. But he said, I'll tell you one thing.